Hola, Norteamericanos y amigos. Welcome to the Daily Spit Take. I am your host, Greg Patten, and I don't want to waste your time, so let's talk about the biggest secret in the NBA. So I want to start today by following up on what I said yesterday about the Inside the NBA crew. Last night, Charles Barkley made a bold proclamation that kind of proves the point I was making about how most people in the NBA media are just fans. They actually aren't willing to criticize players. And Barkley took a stand by basically saying that the people ripping coaches like Frank Vogel and Darvin Ham for losing in the Lakers and Suns respectively don't know what they're talking about. He called them idiots. He called them cowards. And he said that these people don't really do anything except to draw attention to themselves and make sure that the players like them. Well, I have a take today that I think is not going to be popular in a certain part of the country. And I think we need to talk about the big secret in the NBA. The majority of the NBA media consistently talks about, well, we need stars. We need stars. Stars are what make people watch games. Stars are why the ratings are up or down. It's like, if you're watching Luka Doncic, it's because you want to watch Luka and that's why you're tuning in. But there is one consistent lie that we get told every time this time of the year, and pretty much only this time of the year, because the honest truth that they never want to say is the franchise that they prop up more than any other in the NBA is never relevant. They don't have star power. And that is why the making of Jalen Brunson into one of the top 5 players in the league argument has been so prevalent during the NBA playoffs. The New York Knicks are constantly put on a pedestal for somebody who has done really nothing in terms of franchise success compared to other places. Oh, they call it the Mecca. Oh, they call it the most important arena in the East Coast, Madison Square Garden. They shove this stuff down our throats since we were born. I remember when the Knicks were good in the 90s. But the thing was, it was okay then to sell it. But then you would go, wait a minute. The only time they won was Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, and Dave DeBusschere, and we're losing our mind over this franchise that has about the same amount of success as the Indiana Pacers or the Milwaukee Bucks. And by the way, the Milwaukee Bucks now have had more success winning championships than in the NBA. So the whole, it's about championships crowd, they just, it's always about championships. It's the only thing that matters. Well, your precious New York Knicks haven't done anything. And yet here we are. They're in the first round of the playoffs, trying to put the Philadelphia 76ers away. And you're giving me, the NBA is much better when the New York Knicks are involved. And here's the truth. And this is the part that they'll never tell you. Do you realize last year that the Denver Nuggets averaged 13 million people? 13 million people tuned into the NBA Finals for the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. It averaged 11 million throughout the entire 5-game series. The peak audience was 18 million people tuned in to watch. The Boston Celtics and Golden State Warriors was 12 million. Boston Celtics, the Blue Bloods, the Boston Celtics were involved. Everybody tuned in. See, here's the thing. They prop up Boston. They've propped up Golden State. They propped up Cleveland with LeBron. San Antonio and Denver and the Dallas Mavericks have drawn better. I know they don't want to tell you that because they want to sell you, it's the Lakers, it's the Knicks, it's the Heat. The Heat are not the reason people tuned in last year. It was Denver. Every time the NBA has had a news story, Milwaukee, Denver, Dallas, San Antonio, that is not the same old, more people watch. And we're talking about with streaming, with the ability to watch on apps. More people are interested in the non-story that they're selling. They go on their talk shows, they go on their roundtable shows, and they spew Knicks, Lakers all day long. And guess what? The ratings reflect otherwise. If you think it's just last year, this year, in 2024, the NBA playoff viewership has a modest decline. Who's responsible? The Lakers and the Knicks. I know you don't believe this, but if you actually look at the numbers, it's been shown time and time again. You think that the Lakers are a huge draw nationally, and with LeBron James, you would think that. So they sell you the Knicks are must-see TV, and oh my God, the Garden, and oh, the crowd, and this and that, and it's bad, low-scoring basketball traditionally is what the Knicks play. It's not entertaining, and the viewers reflect it. Meanwhile, the basketball purists can't get enough of the New York Knicks. They want to talk all day about Julius Randle's ability. This team has not drawn anywhere near national ratings. They are barely at 4 million in most of their games that they're put on in primetime during the regular season. And oh yeah, they happen to just barely clear 5 million. 5 million! That's it! That's all they've cleared with a compelling overtime game. Oh, Greg, it's only round one. They're down 3 million from last year. They're down 3 million. It's 8%. I mean, the Magic and Cavs are down 32% from, guess what, NBA TV? You put the champions, the Denver Nuggets, on TV, who only drew 589,000. And you're going to sell me this nonsense about we need the Knicks to be good? The Knicks don't move the needle. They're not going to admit it. They're barely drawing. Here's who they're better than. You ready for this? The fifth game that just went to overtime and had the crazy maxi finish. You would think, oh, this is Reggie Miller in the Garden. Oh, this is Trae Young in the Garden. No. They're up 8% from the Hawks and Celtics, which drew 3 million. That's it. They're averaging 3.1 million people. That's all they're averaging. Nobody's watching the Knicks because they're the Knicks. And no matter how many old basketball experts want to tell us that the Knicks have to be good or it's a star-driven league, the Knicks don't move the needle. Somebody has to say it. Nobody's willing to say it because no one wants to make New York mad. It may be the hottest ticket in town. They may buy up all the tickets in Philadelphia. It doesn't reflect in viewers. As a matter of fact, I don't think Jalen Brunson's moving the needle one iota. Joel Embiid barely moves the needle. But Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, people are tuning in and you're not being told that. They're basically saying, well, if it's not the Lakers, it's not the Celtics, it's not the Knicks, then nobody's going to watch. And it's the opposite. And the numbers back it up, and they won't say that. It's bad for business. It's bad for their brand. They need the New York market to be big. I come from the city that watches the most NBA playoff basketball in the nation, and we get crapped on because the Atlanta Hawks don't move the needle nationally. They never have. They got a spotlight on the run to the Eastern Conference Finals when Trae took the Knicks out, the Sixers in 7 games, and then got hurt against Milwaukee, who went on to win the championship. But the crazy thing is, the market that watches the most NBA basketball is the Atlanta market. They're starving for success in Atlanta. An NBA team would be as big as the NFL in Atlanta if it took off. But it hasn't. And to continually tell me that the New York Knicks are the most important franchise they're nowhere near as successful as the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics at least are drawing 6-7 million people. The Knicks can't get past 4 million. Oh, well, it's the Sixers, it's the injuries, it's this. It's not. The regular season games don't move the needle. You put them in prime time all the damn time. And now we're at the point where the numbers are consistently telling you no one cares about the New York Knicks. And the media personalities who pretend to be Knicks fans, who prop up the Knicks, don't want you to look at the ratings yourself and go, man, nobody really is watching the Knicks. If it's the Knicks and the Cavs and Magic in the next series, no one cares. If it's the Knicks and the Celtics, it'll get a good number because Boston has consistently drawn 10 to 12 million. Now, I understand when we look at the overall with the NBA that viewership's down. But if you look at the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Maple Leafs and Bruins series is doing 1.3 million. The Knicks are barely 4. Most NHL playoffs aren't doing more than 539,000 viewers at a time. And I like the NHL. I've been a huge NHL fan my whole life. But we're not over here propping the Rangers up. They're going to get their numbers. They're going to be in the 1 million range. That's a good number for the NHL right now. But the simple fact that we're talking about, well, it's always important for the Knicks to be good. It's not. And it hasn't been for 30 years. And it's still not. And unless they get LeBron James or Kevin Durant in the offseason, and then they put 30 more Knicks games on in prime time and they prop them up again, it's not going to change. Jalen Brunson is a nice player, but Jalen Brunson in Dallas with Kyrie Irving right now probably are the favorites in the West. You're not tuning in to watch the Knicks. Somebody has got to stop with this nonsense. And I feel like I have to say it just because I saw Charles Barkley go after the people who were propping up, oh, it's coaching. That's why the Lakers and Suns failed. Well, somebody needs to have the guts to go out there and talk about that no one's watching the Knicks. I don't care how many times you put Marv Albert clips out there, Iron Eagle. You might as well be stuck on the NBA and the NBA on NBC era of the 90s if this is what you think's good. Even the Knicks games against the Heat in the late 90s were terrible. They were ugly basketball games. Oh, it's physical. It's an old school style. Yeah, okay, great. You enjoy a team scoring 85 points. Go with that. Especially those of you who promise me all the time that the whole league's about stars. Then why the hell are you watching the Knicks? They got nothing. Jalen Brunson's a nice player. But this idea we're going to push him with the New York media into the top 5 players in the league is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Meanwhile, you got Luka doing things that only Oscar Robertson's done, and it's just like, well, he can't win. Well, the Knicks can't get out of the first round. So until they do, I cannot get over the fact that we have been sold this nonsense. The NFL equivalent of the Knicks in the NBA is the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sorry. You value them as the most valuable franchise in football. And that's because of how Forbes works. Forbes just asked the owner, what do you think your franchise is worth? And Jerry knows what he said in the past, so Jerry ups the amount that he says this time, and people take it as the gospel. Nobody actually really digs into rich people's money. That's the truth that they never tell you. That no one's allowed to talk about how much money someone has on a daily basis. But yet we're supposed to buy that these billionaire franchises are going to give you the facts. There was an amazing study done by Awful Announcing the week after the Super Bowl. The week after. No team was talked about more than the Dallas Cowboys on roundtable shows and sports shows. And it was an embarrassing 800 times. 800 times. Someone brought up the Dallas Cowboys in a week. And the biggest culprit was FS1, and I think you all can figure it out if you know who's over there. They do nothing. They draw because the NFL draws. The Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay Packers are going to draw. The Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles are going to draw numbers. But they prop them up in the same way they do the New York Knicks, as if it's the only team you care about. Meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots, the Indianapolis Colts, the Denver Broncos. All of these during the height of their era were drawing more than the Dallas Cowboys. But nobody's going to say that because everybody has to believe, it's very important for the Dallas Cowboys to be good for our ratings. Yeah, maybe if you're an NFC network it is. Otherwise, it's really not that important. And people like seeing news stories in the NFL. They like seeing the come up. They like seeing a Houston Texans. They like seeing, how is it Tampa Bay is still hanging around? They lost Brady. They lost this. People are interested in those stories. More so than what are you going to pay Dak Prescott, which is just like the poor guy he's an NFL Walter Payton winning man of the year, and the poor guy is a B-plus quarterback. And we have to talk about him all the time in media. Because you tell me this is what moves the needle. Well, then I would say if that's true, why are you wasting my time talking about the New York Knicks? Because they don't move the needle. The NFL is going to do 15, 20 million on playoff games. They're going to do 10 to 12 million people, 10 to 12 million. The draft does 12 million. Just Roger Goodell walking up, hugging people and reading cards does 12 million. NBA playoff games beat the draft on Saturday and Sunday because, there's really not as much pomp and circumstance anymore. And the majority of people that watch the next round are football nerds like me. People who watch tape. People who are interested in the actual analytics and are interested in who are the undrafted free agents that are going to land, how much guaranteed money are they going to get, and who are the best fits. We're interested in that stuff. Not everybody is. And I just cannot believe we've reached the point with the Dallas Cowboys where it's like we talk about them nonstop in sports media. If you never know the story, the only reason they're America's team is because the Pittsburgh Steelers turned it down. The Steelers thought that was the most arrogant thing to be asked. We can't be America's team. That's ridiculous. But the Dallas Cowboys were desperate for attention, and some things have never changed. But hey, that's what I think. This has been the Daily Spit Take. I've been your host, Greg Patten. And yeah, we'll talk soon.